Florida. Items belonging to Brian Laundrie may have been found in a park. That's according to an attorney for the Laundrie family. Now, Laundrie's parents went to that park this morning to help search for their son. Police are now conducting a more thorough investigation of the area. A senior law enforcement official tells NBC News that what appears to be partial human remains have been found in the Carlton Reserve, and the Sarasota medical examiner confirms they have also been asked to respond to the scene. Now, 23-year-old Brian Laundrie remains the only person of interest in the disappearance of his fiancée, Gabby Petit. A medical examiner ruled Petit's cause of death was homicide by strangulation. Let's go straight away to NBC's Dasha Burns and former FBI Special Agent Clint Watts. So, Dasha, what have you learned about this new search?
Well, Jeff, this is week 5 of the search for Brian Laundrie, and up until today that there had been seemingly no trace, but it seems like that has now changed. We are still watching the story as it is developing very quickly, but let me reset again what it is that we know now. We know that last night the FBI and Northport police learned that Chris and Roberta Laundrie, Brian Laundrie's parents, were planning to go to the Carlton Reserve to search for Brian again. That reserve had been closed for about a month. It reopened yesterday, but it is closed again today as you have law enforcement and the medical examiner on the scene there now. We know, per the Laundrie family attorney, that there have been some items found in that reserve that they have confirmed do indeed belong to Brian Laundrie. We also know from a senior law enforcement official that partial human remains have also been found in that reserve. They have been found near a backpack that this senior law enforcement official says is consistent with items that may belong to Brian Laundrie. And look, Jeff, this has been such a long search for Gabby's fiance, and I've been talking to law enforcement experts about, how is it possible that there has been no trace for so long? And a former FBI agent told me that there are only a few scenarios here where someone could really evade law enforcement for this amount of time. One, it's a person who is very prepared in law enforcement techniques, knows the ins and outs of how a search like this would go, and is able to hide. Someone who perhaps has had experience with law enforcement before. It could also be a person who is getting help from somebody else. And the last option she presented to me is this could be someone who is deceased and has not yet been found. And she said, look, Brian, it's very unlikely that Brian Laundrie knew the ins and outs of investigative techniques. And so the two options she was looking at were either he was getting help in hiding, or that he was deceased and had not yet been found. We know that the search has been made especially difficult in the Carlton Reserve over the last several weeks because the water levels have been high, but recently those water levels have receded, which is why we might be now seeing some items that are there that we didn't see before. We know that just in the last couple of weeks, Brian's father, Chris, had been helping FBI look in some of those areas where the water levels were starting to recede and reveal a little bit more, Jeff.
And Clint, as we look at these aerial shots above Northport, Florida, give us a sense of what the law enforcement response is at this search scene right now.
Yeah, so over the last few weeks, as you've seen, they've been conducting an extensive search, trying to really map out the entire area. But as you noted here from that interview with Dana, they really have to have some clues to go on to really vector in on what might possibly be there. The parents had mentioned this location before. They maybe have found now something that's consistent with this individual, and so they're going to narrow in. Once they find remains, though, that's really about bringing in someone to verify, and that's why they'll call the coroner's office, get someone out there to verify the remains, and they will then, if they do find them, go to family members or someone that knows the individual as well to make sure that there's confirmation, identification of the body. This oftentimes takes a long time. This isn't quite as simple as you might think it is. They have a chain of custody they have to maintain in terms of the evidence and in terms of notification of next of kin.
And Clint, does this put more of a spotlight at all on Laundrie's parents?
I don't know. I think it's mixed in terms of this. They probably were trying to follow some rules and also stay out of the media spotlight, I would imagine. This has been a nationwide case that's drawn lots of public attention. And I don't know what the interactions were like between law enforcement and the family. You would think that they were trying to be supportive and helpful, but also probably worried about their son in the same way. So I don't know enough of the details between those interactions between law enforcement to say with great certainty.